Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Shashank Ranjan, and I welcome you all to the Daily Current Affairs Show from National Defense Institute. This is the news article from the 8th January 2022, published on our website www.nationaldefenseinstitute.in. NDI is a leading defense preparation institute of India that prepares you for all India Sainik School Entrance Examination, NDA, CDS, AFCAT, CAPF, to the SSB, where we believe in holding your hand till you get those stars on your shoulders and emblem on your head. Ladies and gentlemen, let's begin the discussion for the day. So the first current affairs article that's on our website is GDP growth. So India's gross domestic product GDP is expected to grow by 9.2% in the current financial year, following last financial's 7.3 contraction. The National Statistic Office NSO said that in its first advanced estimates of economic output released amid concerns over the likely impact of the third wave of COVID-19 pandemic. So our GDP growth fell down very sharply and the economy of India was impacted. But this is a good news that's coming, where the GDP is expected to grow at 9.2% in the current financial year. The NSO, National Sample Organization, it however made clear that these are early projections that did not factor in actual performance of various indicators as well as measures that may be taken to contain the spread of pandemic. Okay, so there could be some more measures that could be taken to contain the pandemic, and the implications of those has not been included here. Okay, so there could be a little bit deviation, but still the prediction taking everything at a normal stage signals a very good GDP growth in our country. GDP at constant prices in the year 2021-22 is estimated to be 147.54 lakh crore as against the provisional estimate of GDP for the year 2020-21 to 135.13 lakh crore, adding that growth in the GDP is pegged at 9.2%. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, there are various terms that are coming here. Let us quickly discuss these. Like, what is GDP? What is GDP at constant prices? Okay, so let's quickly see them. And then we have the next term here, the real GPA at basic prices. So all these are different terms, right? You might be getting confused what these things are. First of all, let us understand what is GDP. So GDP is basically the total value of, it is the total value of goods and services produced within the boundary of a country, boundary of a country in a fixed period of time, in a fixed period of time, which is generally considered to be 1 year. Okay, while because we calculate GDP for 1 year, so generally that's 1 year, whereas the definition, it is the value of the total value of goods and services. So it includes both goods as well as the services that are produced within the boundary of the country, okay, in a fixed period of time. So that's GDP. Now, what is GDP at constant prices? So basically, ladies and gentlemen, there are two kind of GDP. One is GDP at constant price, another is GDP at current price. Okay, so we know that, for example, let's take for example that today the cost of petrol is suppose 110 rupees, correct? That's the price of petrol today. If suppose this is the price of petrol in India, and suppose in India, if 1,000 liters of petrol is produced, very crude example. Okay, if 1,000 liter of petrol is produced in India at the price of 110, so the total value of petrol produced will be how much? Because this is what is the definition says, right? Total value of goods and services. So the total value would be 1,000 multiplied by 110. That it should be this much. That is 1,10,000 rupees. So 1,10,000 rupees should be the value of total the GDP of the country. If we are assuming here that only petrol is produced in our economy. So this is a very, very crude example here. Okay. So 1,10,000 rupees value of petrol is being produced. So the GDP is this much. But what happens if suppose the petrol prices increases and the next year, maybe this, let's take this in the year 2021, the petrol price is 110. In the year 2022, suppose this petrol price hike takes place and the petrol price becomes equal to rupees 200. Okay, so very, very big hike, a big jump in the petrol prices happens. And if suppose only let's take 700 liters of petrol was produced. Okay, 700 liters of petrol was produced. Then how much would be the GDP? GDP would be the total value, correct? Total value of goods. So total value will be 200 multiplied by 700. That should be equal to 1,40,000, correct? So 1,40,000. So how much is the GDP? GDP is 1,40,000. Now just see the figure. In 2021, the GDP was 1,10,000, whereas in 2022, GDP was 1,40,000. Which GDP is bigger? GDP of 2022 is bigger than 2021, right? GDP of 2022 is bigger than GDP of 2021. But although the GDP is big, was the production increasing in the economy or going less? So the production was actually going less. It is because the price had increased for everything. Because of the inflation, the GDP is increasing. It is not because of the manufacturing that it is increasing. So is it the right way to predict the GDP of any country? Is it the right way to predict the growth of any country? No, right? That is why this is known as GDP at current prices. Current price. That is why something called constant prices has come. Now, according to the GDP at constant prices, you keep a base year. For example, while calculating GDP for 2022, we will keep the price for 2021 as the constant price. That is the price of petrol, whether it is 200, 300, 400 or rupees 10, doesn't matter. When we are comparing it with 2021, we will consider only the price that was there in 2021. We will only see how much was the quantity produced this year. So in the GDP at constant price calculation, you have to multiply this 700 with this 110. So GDP at constant prices will be 700 multiplied by 110, which should be equal to 77,000 rupees. So in the year 2021, the GDP is 1,10,000, whereas in 2022 it is 77,000. Now people can ask question to the government. Government, you were saying 2022 GDP is 1,40,000. You were showing us a wrong figure. You were telling us that India is growing, but no, India was not growing. The GDP was more because the petrol prices, everything had hiked. There was inflation in the country. That is why GDP had increased. But see, when we calculated it with the constant price, it came just 77,000. Where is the growth, government? Tell us. So this way, with the constant, with coming of calculation of GDP at constant prices, we can actually understand the perfect figure of GDP where India is moving. I hope you are understanding this, right? So that's GDP. Now, there was a new term that was introduced in the year 2019. That was GVA. So GVA was a new method of calculating the GDP that government had come up with. Okay, so GVA basically is just like how GDP works. It is just the same. Only thing here is GVA has something called the factor of subsidy and taxes. The subsidy and taxes. Okay, and this subsidy and tax is not for the customer but for the industries. For example, if there's a bread industry, okay, that manufactures bread, this industry, because bread is something which is an essential item for every poor people or rich people to eat. This is an essential. The price of bread cannot be made very high, or else the poor people won't be able to afford it. And therefore what government does is government gives subsidy to these industries, that okay, if you are establishing a bread industry in our country, then you are going to get a subsidy. So for example, the production price of a bread is rupees 10, the government gives subsidy to it. Government says that for every 10 rupees bread that you produce, 2 rupees we will give it to you. So government will give 2 rupees to them. Therefore, the price that people will have to pay will be just 8 rupees, because 10 rupees was what the for the cost for the industry, and 2 rupees subsidy government gave to them already. So they do not have to ask it from the people now. So people will pay only 8 rupees, right? Government also comes up with some GST on this. They also make these industry pay some taxes, so they get subsidy, but they also pay some taxes, right? For example, the excise tax, tax or something, some tax, manufacturing tax they have to give. Now the tax that they give, for example, is rupees 1. So that rupees 1 will be added, because that's a tax which company has to pay. Obviously company will not take that burden on themselves, rather it will make the customer pay, right? So I hope you remember this from the lecture, that how the impact of burden takes place on the customer finally, right? So when I was taking this session on economy, so I hope you remember this term. So the it becomes finally rupees 9. So the bread will be sold at rupees 9. Now GVA actually takes all these components into calculation, the tax that the industry has to pay and the subsidy that industry gets at the industrial level, not at the customer level, not at the consumers level. Okay, at consumers level also government gives some subsidy to the consumers, but we are not talking about that. The government doesn't consider that for calculation of GVA. It takes into consideration only those subsidy and taxes that are charged upon the industries. Okay, all right. So the real GVA at basic prices is estimated to be 135.22 lakh crore in 21-22, as against 124.53 lakh crore in 2021. Showing a growth of 8.6%. The implicit GDP growth of 5.6% for H2, for the financial year 2022, built in by NSO, may not fully factor in the admittedly evolving impact of Omicron, said Aditi Nair, the chief economist at ICRA. Our sense is that after 6.0 to 6.5 rise in Q3 FY 2022, the GDP expansion is set to slip below 5% from the ongoing quarter. The NSO's GVA estimate shows the mining sector outpacing others with a growth of 14.3%. Okay. All right. The NSO's GVA estimate shows the mining sector outpacing the others with 14.3% following last year, 8.5% contraction, followed by manufacturing, which sees the expansion of 12.5% after shrinking 7.2% in the previous 12-month period. Okay, so these are some figures which you can just just for the sake of your information, keep in your mind, whereas understanding the basic concept behind it was important. Let's move to the next news article, that is Bureau of Indian Standards, that is BIS. A Bureau of Indian Standard completed 75 glorious years of its existence on 6th of January 2022. BIS came into existence as the Indian Standard Institution ISI in 1947. The Bureau of Indian Standards BIS is the national standard body of India under the Department of Consumer Affairs, Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution, Government of India. Now, when you are attempting CTS question, now this kind of question comes in the examination where they ask you that a particular organization which is very famous comes under which ministry. So you must remember that Bureau of Indian Standard, the BIS, it comes under the Department of Consumer Affairs, Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution, India. Okay. All right. So it is established by Bureau of Indian Standard Act 2016. Bureau of Indian Standard Act 2016, which came into effect on 12th of October 2017. The minister in charge of the Ministry of Department having administrative control of BIS is the ex-officio president of BIS. A new Bureau of Indian Standard Act 2016, which was notified on 22nd March 2016, has been brought into force with effect from 12th of October 2017. The Act establishes the Bureau of Indian Standards, BIS, as the national standard body of India. So currently, the National Standards Body of India is BIS, not the ISI. Okay. So remember this for the knowledge shake. Although the questions are less likely to come because the question has already come in 2017. But okay, if it comes also, you must know in 2017, the Indian Standard Body has been renamed and under BIS. Okay, next we have the Varanasi Agri Export Hub, working in close collaboration with Ministry of Commerce and Industry, the Agriculture and Processed Food Product Export Development Authority, APIDA, has taken several initiatives in making landlocked Purvanchal region a new destination of agri-export activity through development of Varanasi Agri Export Hub. APIDA has identified potential districts of Uttar Pradesh to be covered under the scheme, which is Varanasi Agri Export Hub. Okay, the Purvanchal division covers the district of Varanasi, Mirzapur, Azamgarh, Prayagraj, Gorakhpur, Basti, Gazipur, Jaunpur, Chandauli, and Sant Ravidas Nagar. With the active intervention of APIDA, about 20,000 metric ton of agri produce has been exported from Purvanchal region in the last 6 months. Out of these shipments, about 5,000 metric ton of fresh fruits and vegetables and 15,000 metric ton of cereals has been exported to Vietnam, Gulf nations, Nepal, Bangladesh, and by all modes of transportation. As Varanasi is a territory based in the plain of River Ganga, very, very rich, nutritious composition of the alluvial soil with ample amount of fertility, which leads to the production of very good quality agri-produce. Varanasi region also has reputed institution of central and international levels such as Indian Institute of Vegetable Research and International Rice Research Institute, Banaras Hindu University, etc. The Banaras Hindu University IT has been renamed as IIT Varanasi now. Okay. So next we have is Startup India Innovation Week. The Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, DPIIT, the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, is set to organize the Startup India Innovation Week from January 10th to 16th, 2022. This week-long virtual innovation celebration aims to commemorate the 75th year of India's independence, Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, and is designed to showcase the spread of depth of entrepreneurship across India. Startup India Innovation Week will have sessions ranging from topics such as enhancing market access opportunities, discussions with the industry leaders, best practices by states, capacity building of enablers, reserve pitching by incubators, the technology exhibition, corporate connect, and more. The program is expected to bring together the top policymakers, industry, academia, investors, startups, and all ecosystem enablers from across the globe. The stakeholders from all these segments are requested to register themselves on the portal. Right. So the next news that we have is Prasad project. Okay. So Union Tourism Minister Sri G. Krishan Reddy virtually inaugurated Prasad project at Govardhan, Mathura, Uttar Pradesh. The project for development of the Govardhan Mathura under the Prasad scheme was approved by Ministry of Tourism at the cost of 39.70 crore in January 2019. The component, which is the a multi-level car stand block, the cloakroom and toilets, boundary wall and surface development at Govardhan bus stand has been successfully completed with the cost of 15.82 crore. The National Mission on Pilgrimage, Rejuvenation and Spiritual Heritage uh, uh, Augmentation Drive, Prashad. It is a central sector scheme with complete financial assistance by Government of India. So there are basically two kinds of schemes. One is central sector scheme, another is central sponsored scheme. Okay, so in the central sector scheme, 100% contribution is given to the state government from the central government. So it is center's scheme. It wants the state government to either implement the scheme, or it is central authority who themselves provide them the manpower to complete those schemes in the state. Then there are certain central sponsored schemes. In the central sponsored schemes, government generally says that, okay, we'll give you the 70% of the components from the central government, whereas 30% will be from the state government, which would be given to you. All right. So this kind of then this is the another type in which the schemes come. So the scheme has been launched under the leadership of Prime Minister by the Ministry of Tourism in the year 2014-15 with the vision of focused infrastructure development to harness the pilgrimage and heritage tourism destination for its direct and multiplier effect upon the employment generation and economic development. The scheme aims at infrastructure development to envisage world-class infrastructural development of the sites with a special emphasis on tourist facilities, including the tourist facilitation centers, wayside amenities, parking, public convenience, illumination, and the sound and light shows. So this makes it attractive for the tourist. Thereby, this area will start uh, attracting more tourists, and the revenue can be generated, right? Okay, next that we have is Molnupiravir. So what is this Molnupiravir? Barely a week after it was approved for early stage COVID-19 patient, Molnupiravir, an antiviral drug developed by US companies Merck and Ridgeback, has been kept out of the treatment protocol recommended by ICMR. Dr. Balram Bhargav, head of ICMR, said on Tuesday that the drug had major safety concerns. This was resulted in an awkward situation. The drug is approved for use but not recommended. Okay, so the drug Molnupiravir is a repurposed COVID-19 drug originally developed to treat influenza. It is meant for mild or moderately ill COVID-19 patient who are at risk of developing serious illness. The pill, if administered during the first 5 days after contacting the infection, has the potential to prevent serious illness. The pill is among first few therapeutics now being deployed for treatment of COVID-19. Molnupiravir was first cleared to use in UK in November and more recently in USA. There have been concerns on two counts, low effectiveness and some potential side effects. Both were taken into account by drug regulating agencies while approving them. The National TB Elimination Program, NTEP. Indian Oil has committed to support the National TB Elimination Program, NTEP, in India by providing an enabling environment through the integrated and prioritized intervention with City Coordination Committee, the district health societies, technical support groups, etc., in each of 75 districts of Uttar Pradesh and 23 districts in Punjab. The program's key objective will be to screen and test the entire population of UP and Punjab every year for the next 3 years. Once the patients are notified, their treatment will continue as per the protocol of National TB Elimination Program. In 2018, Shri Narendra Modi, the Honorable Prime Minister of India, had given a clarion call to end TB in India by 2025, 5 years ahead of Sustainable Development Goal target of 2030. To fulfill the Prime Minister's vision, the Indian Oil Corporation Limited, under the aegis of the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, in collaboration with the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, is joining the Jan Andolan of TB Mukt Bharat. Uttar Pradesh is the state with the largest population in India, accounting for about 20% of the population of India. In 2020, Uttar Pradesh, with a population of over 23.4 crores, had the highest share of tuberculosis notification in India, over 20%. So Uttar Pradesh has a very, very high population of TB patients. Okay, and this has to be treated. Punjab caters to a large number of migrant laborers from many states, and ensuring cascades of TB, cascades of care to TB patient among the migrant is a challenge. All right, so let's move to the next article, that is third National Water Award. Union Minister of Jal Shakti, Shri Gajendra Singh Shekhawat, announced third National Water Award 2020 in Best State category. Uttar Pradesh has been awarded the first prize among the states, followed by Rajasthan and Tamil Nadu. The first National Water Award was launched by Jal Shakti Ministry in 2018. The National Water Awards have provided a good opportunity to startup as well as leading organization to engage and deliberate with the senior policymaker to how to adopt to the best water resource management practices in India. The Department of Water Resources, River Development and Ganga Reservation, the Ministry of Jal Shakti is giving 57 awards to the state, organization, individual, etc. in 11 different categories. There are Best State, Best District, Best Village Panchayat, Best Urban Local Body, Best Media, Print and Electronics, Best School, Best Institution, RWA, Religious Organization for Campus Usage, Best Industry, Best NGO, Best Water User Association, and Best Industry for CSR activities. Okay. India's current water requirement is estimated to be around 1,100 billion cubic meter per year, projected to go up to 1,447 billion cubic meters by 2050. While India has more than 18% of the world's population, it has only 4% of the world's renewable water resources. In this backdrop, that National Water Awards NWA were instituted to recognize the and encourage the exemplary work and efforts made by states, districts, individuals, organizations, etc. across the country in attaining the government's vision of Jal Samriddh Bharat. Okay. So I hope this news is clear to you. Let's move to the next news article, that is India's first multidimensional adventure sports expedition. Raksha Mantri Shri Rajnath Singh on January 7th, 2022 flagged in India's first multidimensional adventure sports expedition conducted by National Institution of Mountaineering and Allied Sport, NIMAS, in France. The expedition was conducted in November 2021 and the team was led by Director NIMAS, Colonel Sarfaz Singh, comprising 12 people, 8 Indian Army personnel, 4 youths of Arunachal Pradesh. The expedition team carried out over 250 kilometers of winter trekking in Alps mountain ranges, which included Tour de Mont Blanc trek covering the French, Swiss, and Italian Alps. Mont Blanc, meaning the White Mountain, is the highest mountain in the Alps and the European Union, rising to 4,807 meters above the sea level. It is the second most prominent mountain in Europe after Mount Elbrus. The mountain stands between the region of Aosta Valley, Italy, and Savoie and Haute-Savoie in France. All right. So the next news article that we have is mobile honey processing ban. Chairman KVIC, that is Khadi Khadi Village Industry Commission. Okay, Khadi Village Industry Commission, KVIC. Vinay Kumar Saxena, he launched the India's first mobile honey processing van at village Sisora in Ghaziabad, Uttar Pradesh. Okay, let's clear this. The mobile van has been designed in-house by KVIC at its multidisciplinary training center at Panjo Kehra at the cost of 15 lakh. The mobile honey processing unit can process up to 3000 kgs of honey in 8 hours. The van is also equipped with testing laboratory that would instantly examine the quality of honey. The mobile honey processing van comes as a major development under KVIC Honey Mission, which aims at training beekeepers, distributing bee boxes to farmers, and helping rural educated as well as unemployed youth to earn extra income through beekeeping activities. In line with Prime Minister's dream of Sweet Kranti, that is Sweet Revolution, through honey production, the KVIC has come up with the unique innovation to enable beekeepers and farmers to get their fair prices of their honey produce. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is again an initiative which is under the Prime Minister's the government of India's uh, aim to double the farmers' income, double the farmers' income by 2022. So by 2022, the farmers' income has to be doubled. So in this regard, this new initiative is going to help increase the farmers' income. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So these were all the news articles for the day. I hope this was helpful to you. If you have any doubts, queries, post it in the comment box below. You can also contact us through our contact number that's given on our website www.nationaldefenseinstitute.in. Do visit our website and let us know uh, any doubts or anything you have. So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. We'll meet in the next session.